Okay, let's go. Let's roll.
Okay, so welcome everybody to the fortnightly uh, Astrology, Tarot, and Rune report with Greg Simpson and Fiona Aedgar. So here we are, we're back, and we're going to keep at this. It's wonderful. It's the 11th of May, and Fiona is going to, well, take the ball and run with it.
Yeah, I am. I just want to say I'm not actually doing tarot today. I've got some runes here.
Yes.
So I've been trying to really master the runes. Like I say, I've been path working with them for many, many years, but I've only recently started to do divination for other people using them. So, you can use the runes in any kind of magical, spiritual work. They're excellent for that. But as for using them in divination for others, it's kind of a new thing for me. So I'm trying to focus on that. I know the tarot inside out by now. So bear with me for a while. I can only focus on one thing at a time. Unlike, I guess, a lot of women, I'm not a good multitasker. So I'm just going to focus on the rune. So I've got the astrology here for the next few weeks. So today, we actually have a new moon today, and it's pretty well aspected, I have to say. So it's in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Venus is the planet of love, pleasure, beauty, self worth, the ability to feel good about yourself. Also, she is connected to finances. So we've got that energy today, which is going to bring in something new. It can be a new relationship. It can be a breakthrough in an existing relationship because the planet Uranus is quite prominent in this new moon chart. So set your intentions um, for the next few weeks. So we also have a couple of good aspects today. Mercury is in sextile to Chiron. Mercury is the planet of communication, your thought processes. That involves probably having some very pleasant conversations with people, very healing conversations. So, of course, because that aspect is happening today, we're going to have that in the new moon energy for the next 2 weeks. So, lots of healing to do with words and how you're thinking. So let's see. The next major aspect is tomorrow. Mars is in sextile to Uranus. Mars is the planet of action, your physical body, your health, your vitality, your energy levels. That is something that I really wanted to mention in this podcast. So I have had so many people say to me in the last couple of days, I feel so fatigued. I'm so tired. I can't get off the sofa. What is happening? Well, do you know what? I've been feeling that way as well. It's like trying to walk through quicksand. Getting anything done just seems like an impossible task. I had an afternoon nap today, which is something that I never do. And I was like straight into a really deep sleep. Well, the reason for that astrologically is because that Mars is in a water sign. Mars, of course, is a fiery red planet. It's aggressive, it's masculine, it's alpha. So it doesn't perform very well when it's in a water sign. So we become a bit sluggish. And then Mars is actually going to square Chiron in a couple of hours. Chiron, of course, is connected to, physical illnesses, stuff like that. There is a possibility that you may have confrontation with another person. That's going to be in about 5 hours' time, but you may feel that tomorrow still. Be careful when you're driving. It increases the likelihood of road rage and just like general icky temper stuff. But if you have been feeling fatigued and you've been sluggish, don't worry. That will be moving. That aspect will be moving forward tomorrow. But we do have to deal with Mars being in Cancer for another few weeks. Okay, so the next major aspect that we have also is tomorrow. So Mercury is in trine to Saturn. Mercury is the planet of communication, your thought processes. Saturn is that lovely big grandfather in the sky that watches us all, keeps an eye on us, and makes sure that we're towing the line. He represents maturity and wisdom. So you may have conversations tomorrow that lead to some kind of a deeper understanding of a situation or a person, but it is a good aspect, so there's nothing to worry about. So May 13th, big day, Jupiter, the planet of abundance, spirituality, foreign people, foreign cultures, also viruses and misinformation. Jupiter enters Pisces. So what does this mean? First of all, I have been talking about this. The propaganda machine is going to be in overdrive. Okay. So whether it's about how can I say this in a way that I'm not going to get banned? Let's say needlecraft. Okay. That's what Tom Sheridan says. So I'm going to say that too. The misinformation and propaganda surrounding certain viruses, needlecraft, all of that stuff is going to be an overdrive. As for, as well as the political situation over in the States, don't believe everything you hear. Okay. On the plus side, it's going to bring in a beautiful spiritual energy for those of us that are on the other side of the parallel society, and we're not living in fear. We're not paying attention to the propaganda. You'll notice a real uplift, a real spiritual uplift. If you're a Pisces, well done. This is going to be a really good transit for you. You're going to notice an overall expansion of your life. So that's something to look forward to if you're Pisces or any of the other water signs. So the next major aspect that we have is on May 17th. And the sun is making a positive trine to Pluto. So the sun will be the man in your life, your husband, your father, your boyfriend, your son, and masculine type of energies. And it's in trine to Pluto, which is the planet of transformation and change. So this is a positive aspect. You yourself may find some you may transform on that day. You may start a new practice, or you may simply gain a better understanding about a situation that has been bothering you. The May 18th, really good day. Venus is in sextile to Chiron. This is a really beautiful energy for relationships. So you may gain some kind of healing here in romance, in love, or simply your self-esteem will improve on that day. Things are flowing nicely. Venus is also conjunct the North Node on May the 18th. So the North Node is where you need to be going in life. It's like a signpost that is saying, go here. It does take you outside of your comfort zone, but that is where you find the gold in life, is when you get off the damn sofa and you make an effort. So you may feel uncomfortable with some kind of, possible situation in your love life. Maybe you're not sure about something. Maybe there are fears lurking in your subconscious. Just push ahead. Love is where you should be heading towards with this aspect. So the next major aspect is on May 20th. Venus is in trine to Saturn. This is a great relationship transit. It's all about stability, longevity, commitment. On the same day, the sun enters Gemini. So a very different energy. Gemini is all about the left brain, communication. Sorry about my throat, by the way. I've got like hay fever. Everything's in bloom here in Ireland at the moment, and it affects my throat quite badly. So I need to get some of that local honey, I think. People have been telling me about that. So when the sun enters Gemini, we tend to become more chatty. We start to research many different types of information. It can be hard to focus on one thing. It's kind of like the ADHD type of transit. People that have strong Gemini in their charts, as I do, we kind of find it hard to focus. I have like 10 books in my bedroom at the moment. I'm reading a few pages of this one, putting it down, reading a few pages of another one. So we'll all be feeling a bit like that when the sun is in Gemini. On 21st of May, the sun is in square to Jupiter. Squares to Jupiter are not usually a bad thing. The issue with this one is that Jupiter is in Pisces and the sun is in Gemini. So it's sort of like being pulled in different directions. It's hard to make a decision. I can't make a choice. Which way should I go? Well, you don't have to make a decision right now. You can leave that for another day. because it is a short transit. It's only going to be, you will only be feeling that for like a day or two. Okay, so May 23rd, another big day, Saturn turns retrograde. So, like I say, Saturn is the granddaddy of the sky. He's about wisdom. He's about pulling your weight, putting in the work, wherever that may be, psychologically, or your daily schedule, whatever. So when he turns retrograde, it is a big deal. First of all, on the plus side, we should see a lessening of the control system that has been placed around us. Some of us are still heavily under that, although things are starting to open again over here. So when Saturn goes retrograde, you'll have more freedom. Now, the shift turns from external control into um, internal control. It's a good time to work on any Saturnian issues. Where do you need to have more maturity? Where do you need to gain more wisdom? Where do you need to become more committed? So those are all things to kind of work on there. On May 26th, we have a lunar eclipse. Now, this is interesting for a couple of different reasons. So it's a lunar eclipse that falls on a new moon. It's at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. There is a certain guy, a certain president, who has that as his ascendant. So when someone has a lunar eclipse on their ascendant, it means that a big change is coming to that person's life. So I'm obviously talking about slow Biden. Oh, sorry, did I say that? I meant Joe Biden. So when an eclipse falls on that, I don't know exactly what it is. Astrology is not fortune telling, but over the next couple of months, there's going to be a big change with that guy in that guy's life. On a more personal level, lunar eclipse in Sagittarius is going to increase some type of freedom in our lives. You may be feeling really pulled to like travel, expand, think about the bigger picture. Where can you improve your life in a Jupiterian way? What do you need to study? What do you need to work on? But overall, it's quite well aspected. So it's not something to worry about. Eclipses bring in major life changes. So an eclipse will last for like, the energy will last for like 6 months. It's going to be something like births, marriages, deaths, life changes, job changes. Now, I can't tell you exactly what that is going to be for you unless I look at your chart. Okay. So if you do know a bit about astrology, you can go and check where you have 5 degrees of Sagittarius in your chart. And that is going to tell you the story, your own personal story. Because, of course, everything that I'm speaking about is kind of going to be more general. Whatever is going on in your chart is going to kind of trump what I'm speaking about. So 5 degrees of Sag, let's say you have that in your 7th house, that's going to be a big relationship change for you. If you have it in your 5th house, it's going to be connected with your children, your creative pursuits. If it's in your 10th, it's going to be connected to your career. So you see what I'm saying. You can learn astrology, pretty easy. There's a number of good sites that you can use for free. Or, of course, you can book a reading with me, FionaEdgar.com. Okay, so May 27th, Venus is in square to Neptune. This may bring a little bit of wishy-washiness in relationships, or it can actually be a transit that is connected to a bit of paranoia, because Neptune is about illusions, about deception. But, a lot of the time, the other person isn't deceiving you. It's just stuff that's going on in your head, like trust issues. A positive way to express this energy is not to go and start a fight with your partner. Go and paint, do something creative, watch a movie. Neptune can be about healthy escapism, read a book. Okay, so May 29th, Mercury is conjunct Venus. This is a beautiful aspect. Sweet, beautiful words. Very good if you're a writer, a podcaster. So it's a good day to do a podcast. Now, I'm going to say something that none of you will like. Mercury also goes retrograde on May 29th. So it's Mercury retrograde has become like a bit of a buzz phrase. Everyone's using it, but very few actually know what it means. Mercury retrograde is actually an optical illusion. It simply looks like the planet Mercury, which is about communication, your thought processes, how you speak, how you understand the information around you. Well, it looks like it's going backwards. So it is an illusion, but on an energetic level, it's very real. This is when we have communication issues with people. You get the wrong end of the stick. It's not a good idea to communicate via like text messages, or messenger, whatever, because people are going to take it the wrong way. If you are traveling around this time, you need to be careful that you have all of your documents in order, your passport, because things are more likely to go wrong. Because this is such an intense energy, your electronic devices are more likely to break. Your car is more likely to have issues. So it is going to be retrograde until June 22nd. What are the positive sides of Mercury retrograde? It is a review period. Now, it'll again, once again, it comes down to where have you got Gemini in your chart? 24 degrees. Check that. That house is going to give you your Mercury retrograde story. So just be a bit cautious. It's going to give you an opportunity to review the way that you engage with information, the way that you communicate with other people. Maybe you will see a different side of an existing story. So just warning you guys that that's coming up. And I think that's it. So I've done up to May 29th.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah. Well, we all always love to hear about Mercury retrograde going, firing off. And I know, I can only imagine many people are probably thinking, oh gosh, that's all I need. Like, why does that happen now? Like, aren't things kind of strange enough? But I'm sort of looking forward to Mercury retrograde this time because, uh, it does stop people. It's sort of, it, it makes people wonder, like, is this correct? Am I on the right path? Or it makes them sort of like lose interest in everything they're doing and then figure out, well, where does my excitement really lie? And I
Hmm.
think that in this time, like right now, there's so many people who are, I'm just going to use the word, confused, right? Or uncertain. It's like, if we think about the whole needlecraft that everybody's gotten into,
Hmm.
everybody like doing needlecraft and making these beautiful little doilies with like demonic influences all over them and stuff. I'm gonna like basically I'm gonna make a doily of my like 10 favorite demons. you know, yeah, and then I'm gonna wear it, whatever. And so I think that most people who wanted to get into that hobby have done it, you know, and then those who felt like, well, I don't want all my friends to do it and then be socially ostracized because I don't, I think they've gone and gotten into that, and then, those who thought that they could make a deal with the dark forces of this universe. And, well, you know how that works out. They made their deal,
Hmm.
they like, well, if I make a doily, I can travel, you know.
No, you can't. No, you freaking can't.
Yeah, it's like, well, just keep on making those doilies. You're not going anywhere, and you're really not going anywhere pretty soon. Well, so anyway, so uh, I think with that, this is kind of a great time for a Mercury retrograde because I think that even though for many of like your more awake or aware people, um, it's good for them too. It's good for everybody. But I think especially with there's so much indecisiveness and people making bad decisions right now and such, maybe just slowing things up and
Hmm.
and making people think a little bit more would be so beneficial for them. Just because I think it it might help people uh, put down that hobby. Like they were thinking about getting into it and then they didn't get into it or something like that. So a little bit of introspection for, well, the awake, sure, and then like the mass of the normies, well, even better for them right now because, gosh, if people could, even if they're forced to by Mercury retrograde, if they do some critical thinking, if they really put effort towards the situation, I think they'll do better. I think they'll make better choices. So that's my hope. So I'm looking forward to that Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's a nice positive outlook on it, because it really is for a good reason. You know, Mercury retrograde happens like 3 times a year, and it's going to do so for the rest of our lives. So we have to make the most out of it. Just something that I forgot to mention
yeah,
there about it is that Mercury retrograde is a time when people from the past are more likely to make an appearance. So, you know, someone hears from their ex, or it doesn't always have to be like a bad thing. You know, maybe you bump into an old friend, or some situation from the past is kind of reappearing again. So this is because you maybe have some kind of like karmic unfinished business with them. So what way do you deal with that?
oh yeah, and it can get really wild. Where uh, an experience I've had, and I'm crazy. So if anybody thinks this sounds crazy, it's okay. I'm used to it now. The thing is so somebody that's in your life that you didn't really notice before, all of a sudden you realize during retrograde, oh my heavens, I've had business with them before. I know them better than I thought. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because ultimately, 1,000 years ago, you guys were, you were slaves washing dishes together in a castle.
Yeah.
I know everybody wants to make their past lives grand, but let's face it, only so many people could have been Cleopatra and King Tut. So, you
Well,
know.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So, well, Jupiter entering Pisces, I think that's fun because um, you did mention it being kind of a spiritually uplifting time, and I think I'm beginning to see, uh, you might say, like the transit of that, just because I mean, there's a lot of things going on right now, but definitely I'm finding that people are making quantum leaps these days, and I usually don't see it. It's usually just something that, in my opinion, just doesn't happen that often. Most people kind of stay about the same. Um, but I've been noticing people that are, you could say, fundamentalists, that are, or they're atheists, or however you might want to put it, people who are, um, they're buying into a prefab spirituality that's not
Mm-hmm.
real, or whatever, whatever it is. People who all of a sudden, really, I'm seeing. I mean, I have a bit of a small, a number of people that I see every day or a couple times a week or whatever. But I'm really amazed right now that I'm seeing some surprising wake ups. I'm really seeing people sort of uh, turning to a new chapter in their life, and it is phenomenally more aware than it was previously. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like there's a great book. It's called like Quantum Jumping, and it's kind of about the multiverse and such like that, and the idea that you actually can step into a different reality, but you have to be a different person to do it. So I don't know, there's something affecting humanity, and I'm happy to see it. Are you seeing that? I mean, usually I'm a bit cynical and I just don't see these things, but I've been surprised to see people that just were either didn't have a spirituality, or their spirituality was very, fundamentalist, I'm going to call it. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really about the spirit. It really wasn't eclectic. All of a sudden, just like saying shit you can't believe they just said.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you why that is. It's
Yes.
if these are people from European descent, it's because
Yes.
it's the Wotanic consciousness.
Oh.
So, I mean, I obviously am a Norse pagan. You know, I talk about that a lot. And Odin, Odin is an archetype that is present within all of us. If you're of European descent, because he was one of our original ancestors, and that consciousness is dormant, or was dormant, in the body, the DNA, the genes of every person. So whether they are like Christian, atheist, whatever, it's starting to rise. It started to rise in the last couple of years. So I remember, like, last year I saw the wild hunt in the clouds, and I took a picture of it and I posted it on Facebook, when I was still there before they told me I wasn't welcome anymore.
Yeah.
And since then, it started to rise in people. It's the consciousness of courage, of strength, of bravery, and of wisdom. Those are all qualities that Odin is said to have. So Carl Jung actually talked about that, and he said that once the Wotanic energy started to rise, that it would be unstoppable. So I am noticing that this is happening. Also, 2020 affected so many people in a big way, like not just what was going on globally, so many relationship breakups. You know, it's like you were literally catapulted into another life. You had no choice. So the reason for that is because like those people were keeping you back, or in some way they were hindering like your spiritual growth. You just weren't good for each other. So yeah, I mean, I'm seeing that the asteroid Odin is doing big things in the sky. So there is an asteroid called Odin, you know, and it's conjunct the North Node. It's in Gemini at the moment. So that Odinic consciousness is where we should be going towards.
Mm. No, I like it. And you mentioned the mm, see Jupiter, and Jupiter enters Pisces. That's fun. My North Node is Pisces, so that'll be kind of fun.
Oh, that's good for you then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will enjoy this. I'm into the Jupiter entering Pisces is wonderful. I'm glad that the Botanic energy is on the rise because, I am seeing it, and yeah, it is from people that are of European descent, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I see things that are unusual. Like I called it, fundamentalist, but yeah, Christian is a good word for it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Stone Age, things like that. We can use these words. And yeah, you'd be surprised, but there's something about, like, I feel like their devotion, their, regardless of, of any details, they meant well, they were devout, and then all of a sudden that Botanic energy comes in and goes, well, let me hit you with some serious truth. Boom, and they go,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, and you go, you know and like in the course of 24 hours they change completely, and you go, oh my gosh. So there's people who are like really being reborn again, right? Like not the I mean, wow. So I'm glad to see that, and I hope that keeps rolling, and I hope that Jupiter entering Pisces definitely supports that. Well, yeah, there's a lot of cosmic energy coming in, and like we've been chatting about, people might feel tired, might feel anxiety, etc. And just everybody be at home with it. It's for those who are, I'm just going to say, awake, aware, wisdom seekers, truth seekers, people who watch the X-Files, people like that. Like it's on the rise, and you're going to have to just kind of learn to live with it, because it can be a little bit grueling. But for one
Mm-hmm.
thing, our sun right now, we have grand solar maximums and minimums, and like right now we're in a grand solar minimum, as they say, which is where the sun overall loses its potency. It's these long seasons of hundreds of years where it will go really, really bright, really, really, really dim, really, really bright, really, really dim. If people have been around a little while, have a few gray hairs, you probably remember when it used to be orange and now it's white.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And see that's actually, this is a funny thing. We have all these like dumbasses who talk about global warming and all this crap. It's not, it's basically, the sun goes through cycles, and 11 years is one season of minimum and maximum. And right now we're starting a new maximum, but those are small cycles. Larger cycles, which I think are about 400 years or so, something like that. Or is it, there was one in 1600, there was one in like 1200, there was one, I forget my exact timing, but it has larger cycles where it gets hot and it gets cool, it gets hot and it's cool. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
and like, in part, along with many many factors, some say that like the grand solar minimum was part of why Rome began to shrink and things like that, along with other things, but that was part of it. So when the sun goes through grand solar minimums, we have evolutionary leaps, and there's lots of people who have written books about this and such. And I even can post some links to it, where they have done a lot of research, and humanity during a grand solar minimum, sometimes often with mass die-offs, that's kind of a bad part of it, but ultimately um, they become more enlightened. We have amazing evolutionary leaps right now, and a lot of it is because the earth is open to the sun's magnetosphere affecting us. Our poles wander. It just causes this massive energetic instability on the planet and in the people. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, that opens up the gateway to individuals manifesting, to magic, to gnosis, all the beautiful things that us aware people really, really like. The only downside is you're really going to get it. I mean,
Yeah.
You're gonna have to walk the walk, because it's gnosis is gonna come and grab you now and tell you how it is and give you a mountain to climb, but promise you riches on the other side, which you know are there. So, you know, and of course the Schumann resonance reflects this right now. It's just been pumping every day. It's getting this big heartbeat to it, and that really unsettles sensitive people. And we used to get, a bump once in a while. Now we get them pretty much every day. I've been watching it for
Mm,
years, and it's the Earth's frequency between the ground and the ionosphere, about 7 hertz. It just kind of vibrates, and it's changing. Its amplitude, its frequency. It's making these subtle changes, which, you know, an out of shape person who lives on garbage food and negative thoughts, they don't feel it, right? Because they don't feel their body either. But if you're sensitive, you're going to be um, uneasy. It can make you tired, disoriented. It's just in general, you can hear a ringing in your ears. So,
mm-hmm.
for the awake people who are listening, I would just say, if things are stressful, if you have anxiety, it's just, you're working on your own personal breakthrough, and just know that, you're not alone in all of that. This is the real new normal for the awake.
Yeah, absolutely. That really resonates with me. I tell you, like since the beginning of the year, I've had some incredible gnosis. New agers would call them downloads, I guess. But it's like, you wake up with this knowledge or this wisdom. My dreams have been really intense. I've had a lot of like very intense experiences in my dreams, and I honestly just generally feel more wise than I did last year,
Yeah.
on such a profound way. A lot of it is because I'm really feeling into my ancestral path. I know like I bang on about that a lot, but really there's nothing that realigns you like going onto your ancestral path, because it awakens all of the DNA that you have within you that comes from all of your ancestors, their strengths,
Mm.
and it just changes things. And it makes you immune to like the bullshit. It sets you on the right path where you can manifest stuff. You're happy, your finances are going well. So I really can't recommend that enough.
No, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah, it's good to get those instincts back, like our peripheral vision and the ability to, like, see a lion hiding behind a bush. I enjoy it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right. Well, so how are the runes looking?
Very interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one that I pulled was Swallow. And this is all about, it's interesting that we've been talking so much about the sun, because that's exactly what this rune actually represents. It's about victory, strength, vitality. It's a masculine energy, and it's the power of good over evil. This could be like an alpha leader that comes in to help us, or we ourselves are channeling the energy of this kind of rune. So the next one is Hagalaz. This actually is about a crisis, a radical change. It's also about the ability to accept one's fate. Maybe if something doesn't work out in your life, there's no point in mulling over it. You just got to accept it and kind of move on. But it is a major shift in energy. It can also be about shocking events and shocking news. So I remember I did a podcast with David Whitehead. I think it was at the beginning of the year, the end of last year, and I looked at a bunch of charts, the US, like China, the UK, and it was very clear to me that there was like some kind of uprisings, like war, conflict, and we're kind of seeing that on a global level now. Things are so unstable, so this rune is very apt for that. So something else could be coming in here. The last rune is Ingwas, and it's all about the earth element, agriculture, the connection that we have between our spiritual beliefs and the soil that our ancestors came from,
Mm.
which is very strong. It's also connected to the god Freyr, and when you work with him, like if you give him an offering or whatever, the peace that just fills your home is just so beautiful. So if you're lacking peace and you have that, Norse or Germanic within your DNA, I recommend working with Freyr and Freya. So all of these combined together, what do we get? We get global events, okay? Positive global events, but shit kicking off in quite a big way here. Massive change is coming. It's also about falling back into your ancestral practices to help get through those difficult times. I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about paganism and what the gods actually are. The gods are our ancestors. They're present within our DNA. They're not like a demon god that comes from the Middle East and strikes everyone down for, like masturbating or whatever. But your own particular gods, it's a tribal thing. You can only work with ones that come from your region that you have a genetic connection to. Again, we come back to Nguas and the soil. So it's not, there's nothing racist or anything about that. It's just not going to work for you if it's not in your ancestral lineage.
No, it makes sense, of course, yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it funny where you can, I believe, and we all do this, many times in life, or a few times, depends, but like you'll meet somebody, it doesn't necessarily even mean that you're going to have like business with that person, but you're like, that person is part of my, history, is part of my
Yeah.
bone marrow. Like I love saying it as just bone marrow. I think like that person and I share bone marrow. You just know it. You know it in the very core of your being. There's something familiar about them,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that wouldn't that be an amazing like meditation is a very a very pagan meditation, where you actually focus on your bone marrow and got in touch with it and what did it have to tell you, like go to your
Mm-hmm.
go to your very very bone marrow and see who's there. See, that would be a good guide for people for sure. Yeah, and it's within them.
Yeah, that is really good. And I understand exactly what you say about when you meet someone and you just know that they're family,
Yes.
because I actually had that experience like last week. I'm like a quarter Danish by blood. The rest is all Scottish and Irish. But because I'm really into all of my my Norse spirituality, of course I feel a very strong pull to Denmark. And I did a reading for this beautiful lady from Denmark, and I just felt such a very strong connection to her. Like this is one of my relatives. So I'm planning on visiting Denmark when I can. It may not be this year, but it's probably going to be next year. But yeah, absolutely, you can feel your tribe, and that's
Yes.
something that the new age has really taken away from us. It's like this mishmash of, oh yeah, you can do this spiritual work that comes from this country, and well, quite often you're stealing it from people that don't want you to have it. Like the Native Americans have to deal with all these Europeans like trying to do like their practices that are so sacred to them, and it's just wrong. So every one of us has an ancestral path. You just have to do a little bit of research into it.
It's true. Like you mentioned, you can feel your tribe, and you definitely can feel your tribe. Yeah. And it's funny that you mention, like the Westerner looking at the American Indian spirituality. And it is kind of funny because, I mean, living near Sedona, I mean, believe me, there's plenty of that up the hill in Sedona. And so it is always very funny to see a bunch of Westerners in like their new age uniforms, like all white, etc. Like go to the Native American sweat lodge, and they
Oh.
and like they all get in there and like what is your intention, like, and of course the guy who runs it has to act like totally in character like Native American, like he is and all, but still he's like he has to kind of friggin' talk like Tonto or something.
Yeah.
Because what is your what is your intention for this sweat lodge, and all these like just weak ass Westerners in their little like all white new age uniforms are like, to destroy my ego and honor the
Uh-oh.
white buffalo, and you're like just trying not to laugh or cry. You're like, oh my god, dude, your ego is the only person that showed up, and you don't know anything about a white buffalo, neither do I.
Yeah.
Will you stop it? Oh my gosh,
So
Oh,
embarrassing.
it's
Yeah.
so embarrassing. You're just like, I don't know. Um, you know,
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a tribe, I can't remember which tribe it was over there, the Native Americans, but they actually declared spiritual war against Westerners that try and steal their spirituality. And I just think that, I mean, I get it, okay? I mean, there's a lot of people over here in Europe that love the Native Americans. They love like how it was like thousands of years ago. What they're missing is that sense of having a tribe, living in
yes,
harmony with nature, respecting the planet, respecting the earth, which is something that as a pagan I totally believe in. But my ancestors did that too, and I'm from Europe. It was through the polytheistic cultures. They knew the importance of respecting the animal kingdom. They knew that we had to live in harmony with the earth. So you don't have to go in and like interfere with another culture's system to get that sense of belonging.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can look at your own history of cave paintings and you name it. I mean, look at uh, the early like uh, bear clans, you name it. I mean, there's so much going on. Like we can you can look at your own history, and it's well, if you're from European descent, and it's intensely rich. Oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
and then well, like the Dalai Lama once said, you know, and I'm not telling anybody to like or dislike the Dalai Lama. I'm just saying the Dalai Lama is a pretty wise little character. And I've been lucky enough to I just happened to be walking down the street and I saw a sign like, look, the Dalai Lama is speaking. So I've actually gotten to like sit in a little room with like the real Dalai Lama and actually listen to this guy. Very charming little character. And one of the things that he once said was that Westerners need to stop with the I want to be a Buddhist bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, it has nothing to do with you. You don't get it. You weren't born in the right place. Your spirituality is your spirituality. He's like, you're wasting your time trying to be a Buddhist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's true. So yeah, you can shortcut so much if you just go to your native bone marrow, find your bone marrow, get in touch with that, and then live that spirituality. And why waste a lifetime like trying to be something that you're not? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because I tell you, it's not going to do anything for you.
no,
It's going to disempower you. You're going to be mixed up. Like if you look at New Agers, do they look healthy to you? Are they
no more.
balanced?
They don't look any more healthy than vegans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. That's
Yeah,
exactly my point. I mean, you just I speak from experience. I too was a New Ager. When I grew up in like a Christian country. I hated it from the beginning. I used to despise being forced to church. I was like literally furious and shaking with anger, like 5, 6 years old. Who is this
yeah.
guy? Who is this guy from the Middle East called Jesus? What has he got to do with me? But so being kind of an intuitive person, I then was drawn to the new age. And, you did a mishmash of this. You go to this like goddess workshop, there's all of these people and they're telling you that you need to release like all of your trauma and these ridiculous workshops. And it's like, it's so messed up. And if you look at the people that make a ton of money from all of those workshops, their lives are so fucked up. I mean, they're like literally, you hear stories about them and they're the worst people. And you can tell that they don't know what they're talking about. And then people go to these classes and their lives go to shit afterwards. And they just never get any freaking better, you know? But once you go on your ancestral path, believe me, everything will realign itself and you will be like the best version because it's working with your DNA. It's working with your ancestors. And I say that to everyone, no matter where you're from, whether your roots stem from Africa or Europe or wherever, it will just nourish you on a quite a profound spiritual level.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. I think the happiest people in America are the people who live in very rural states, like our remaining kind of indigenous redneck tribes. they really are the happiest people because like they've all got pickup trucks. They don't work very hard. They like to play in the mud. They're always hunting. They're always hanging out, talking shit about nothing. I mean, they're the happiest people ever. It's like the cities are not happy, but like the people who are rural, like who've almost gone back to like a Stone Age existence with pickup trucks and guns. I mean, they are so happy. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very true. It's very, very true. Get back to that bone marrow. It's true. Yeah,
Mm.
and when you look at a lot of the new age stuff, like you're mentioning, you know, I always look at it like I once drove by a Eckhart Tolle. And I didn't go to see it, but there was like Eckhart Tolle, the new agey guy, the Power of Now, was speaking somewhere, and I drove by, and the entire parking lot was all old Dodge Caravan minivans.
What does that mean? You'll have to tell me. I'm Irish.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's like a Dodge Caravan. It's like it's a minivan, and it's a very, very lame vehicle. And the Dodge Caravan means like I gave up is what it translates to. It means like, well, had a family, had kids, which is not bad. Or it's just basically like to truly be domesticated, to be indoctrinated, just like to be dumb. Basically, it's a terrible thing to say, but basically, just to be the typical, you know, copper top battery that the system needs to juice. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
if you fell for everything, if you went to the needlework class twice, if you went to if you believe all kinds of spiritual absurdities, you know, all this stuff, right? Um, then, you know, if you watch the mainstream media and you think it's real, right? So you've got a Dodge Caravan, and you usually have an older one that's kind of beat up, you know, and your little kids put like all those stickers inside the windows so you can't see out of the side windows. You know, and anyway, uh, so that's kind of a symbol of that in America. And anyway, I drove by there and it was just all Dodge Caravans and all white ones and all old ones, and I was just like, oh my gosh, these are just the weakest people.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know.
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you don't if you want to kind of enlighten yourself and empower, you don't have to pay anyone. You don't have to go to these
Yes.
seminars. Just get back on your ancestral path. It actually just happens naturally. Because people are always like, how do you open up your intuitive abilities? And when you start doing this and you work with the wheel of the year, that's essentially what it is all of these, you know, the solstices, the equinoxes. The pagans would hold kind of festivals, you know, on those days. And it just kind of reawakens that ability within you. And it's a really beautiful thing.
I like that, and it makes me think that, you know, maybe a book that Fiona Edgar needs to write is something like Awakening Gnosis or Awakening Your Bone Marrow, or I don't know, but I think that
Hmm.
you know, people could. I mean, think about it. I mean, people buy like, well, books are a little bit almost old school, so you could make it, you know, an ebook, who knows, whatever, but you could do like a video course. I don't know what it is, but really I think to help people awaken to that ancestral path, that is, I mean, oftentimes people, especially us Westerners who are so like data driven, we need instructions, we need like, you know, like we really do. That's kind of a Western culture thing, a Western European descent kind of history. I mean, we need to march and keep time. Like you got to give us instructions exactly, or else we just don't get it. You know.
I
And
think it's
so
actually more of an Abrahamic thing.
yes, that too. Yes, yes. So yeah, so to break from that Abrahamic tradition, and then Europeans were like, you know, us European men, we're great at like, you know, going to war, then rebuilding the city. We're really, really good, but are we introspective? No, you know. So it's like I think awakening that path, that would be a great Fiona Edgar project. Is help people do that.
Yeah. Do you know what, Craig? I think like three other people have said that to me
Yes,
in the past couple of weeks, and I'm like,
yes,
okay, I'm getting the message. I think I need to write a book.
it'd be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, I really do. I really do need to. I need to make some time for that. Like maybe take a few months off doing readings and stuff. You know.
yeah.
Yeah, but I will. I will do that. I'm being called to do it. I can feel that.
And that's the energy of this time. You know, really, the cosmic energy is increasing. We're in a time of for the aware who can feel it. They feel that speed up, and that's gnosis right there. I love it how you put gnosis, and as well, New Agers call it downloads, with their like Ganesha statues and their like posters of like three wolves howling at the moon.
Yeah, and
You
the
know, yeah, yeah,
Pleiadians, and like all of these like kind of beings from outer space and all of that. You know, I mean, if you're into that, okay, but you don't need to. You've got your ancestral gods. What's more powerful than them, because they are you. You know,
exactly.
they are in you. They are you. They're the best parts of your DNA.
Exactly. And so, I mean, there is Fiona Edgar's gnosis. You know, she's got, write a book, no small task, but you have that vision. So I look forward to that playing out on paper. That's going to be wonderful. I think that will help many people of European descent get back to like lifted pickup trucks and like talking shit and being silly, eating lots of red meat, shooting things. Well, that's
Hmm.
my vision. Probably not yours. Yours might be a little bit more complex than that, but mine's pretty basic and barbaric. And
Well, I think that shooting animals for your food is
yes,
a lot better than the horrific system that they have to go through now. And I also think that we are, you know, as you and I have discussed before, we're lacking some, you know, like real masculinity.
yeah,
People letting their wives do the needlecraft and their kids and all of that. You know, Thomas has talked about that as well. But hopefully, with this rune Swillow that I pulled, you know, something's going to emerge. It's the Wotanic consciousness. It's the warrior archetype. You know, the courageous, fearless man who is just not scared of death.
yeah. Yeah, everyone needs their, and it helps these days to have your practice for that. I know I have my own, and that's something people can definitely cultivate. Men need to go out there and well, everybody hunts and gathers. Women and men hunt and gather, but ultimately, for men, I know I mentioned shooting things and hunting and all, but no, it's very very true. Like whether you go out there with an addle and you chuck spears at things, or whether you go out there with a rifle or a bow, doesn't matter. When you get out there, you're going to feel parts of you turn back on that have not been on before, and then you're living a more aware life. You're living a life from with greater senses, and it's a beautiful thing. And that practice is very easy. It's very easy to get out there and hunt. You have to even be successful. Just go out there and use your peripheral vision and walk and look for
Mm-hmm.
animals, and it's going to turn on parts parts of us that have been turned off, and that's not good.
Yeah.
So well, everybody out there, definitely, if you have a little bit of that ancestral neo-aboriginal rockin', use it, keep using it, and be an example for others, because everybody secretly, even if they're like into needlework and they believe like in like all this, nothing that I'll mention here, they just believe in all these crazy huge delusions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, know that everybody, I believe, deep 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 down inside, wants to be a badass. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah, they
so
do.
so help them get there. Be a good example for people.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it all up.
Yeah, I've got nothing more to say other than yeah, just keep rocking. Um, be careful around the Mercury retrograde, you know, all the usual type of things, and we've got eclipses coming in, and you know, but overall, I think that we're going to see some probably quite dramatic events over the next couple of weeks. But whatever is happening, it is for the greater good.
Yeah, definitely. It is for the greater good. I'm all about bring it. Let's see some craziness. I'm tired of all this mediocrity. So, enjoy the wonderful, crazy stuff which is about to happen, and be sure to eat some red meat that you hunted yourself. All right, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.
Okay, bye, bye.